Hey guys, welcome to Finally Clicked, the podcast where we discuss business, leadership, and personal development. My name is Margaret Smith, and I'm the Director of Operations for Pickett Street Properties, a real estate team out of Bothell, Washington. And I'll be here every week with our owner and team leader, Jesse D. Moore. We'll be digging into concepts and ideas that have helped us both personally and professionally. And you'll also get a chance to hear from local and national experts that we know provide massive value to get to the point where it all finally clicks. Hey everybody, welcome to Finally Clicked with Margaret Smith and Jesse Moore. I intentionally had my voice go down at the end of that introduction because I realized after listening to so many of the intros, I know exactly how I sound every single time.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least people don't come up to you and tell you.
No, they don't.
Like they do me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Howdy, Margaret.
Howdy.
Nice to see you.
You too.
Nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
It's been a busy day.
It's been a really busy week.
Yeah. So
Actually,
I'll just preface this by saying we're a little distracted, admittedly.
Oh yeah. No, for sure.
And this is one of those days where you just feel like you're riding a bucking bronco and you're just holding on for dear life. And you're hoping that
it's true.
You're hoping for a soft landing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we put on 3 listings today for about $4 million in volume.
Mm-hmm. Really
It's been
exciting.
busy.
It's been
I'm
busy.
the primary contact on a couple of these because that's the level of service I provide, which I'm regretting currently.
Yeah, some epic listings today.
And I'm
West
having
Seattle
to
and Edmonds.
I'm having meetings and I'm answering text messages about these new listings at the same time. We're understaffed. I'm
Currently hiring.
underleveraged. Currently hiring if you know anyone. Oh my gosh, see? Look at this.
Wow,
My phone just doesn't
in the
stop.
middle of the podcast.
We have an exciting episode today because we have a fan favorite,
Yeah.
En-May Mangels.
En-May Mangels back again. I haven't told anybody about this. This is a total surprise.
Yeah, well, it's something we've been working on, is getting her back in studio. She lives a jaunt from us. And I'm sorry, people are yelling outside of our studio, so it's distracting. So what was I saying? En-May. En-May's here. En-May's here, and we recorded a session with her, and we're gonna tell you all of our thoughts afterward. I will preface it just by saying that I felt distracted. We have a conversation about. We have an important conversation about money, and she felt impressed to talk about it. You and I, this is a conversation we've been having in regards to your raise and admin rainmaker relationship. So we felt like it was worth attacking today. We dove into it. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it after.
On the other side. Welcome, En-May.
Oh, this is always fun to be with you.
You are our first and only return podcast guest.
I'm honored. Wow.
And I feel like the public clamored, and we heard their clamoring, and here you are. You're back with us.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm excited, and I know everybody, all of our listeners will be as well to have you back.
Well, we had such a fun time at your retreat.
Yes, we did.
Margaret,
oh my gosh.
that's amazing. For all of you
People are still talking about
out
you.
there, don't miss this in 2020.
I guess, and in the spirit of jumping in, this is a question I wanted to ask you. We just had a private session with our team, with En-May, and I was curious, when I was at the retreat, I was extremely emotional, unintentionally. That is not my style at all. I'm just curious if you know why it was emotional for me.
First, the location was very much important to your heart. You really love the great outdoors and that lodgy feel, and sharing that environment with other people is like sharing a piece of your heart. So first came that. The other part was looking at Margaret, feeling so supported by like-minded people, and knowing that you have the best of the entire group. Now that's quite a gift in itself. The other part was being able to answer questions for these gals who may not even have a relationship such as yours, the two of you, with their own boss or rainmaker or executive, or some of these women in the room were the executives themselves. But to hear the vulnerable voice of a gentleman who would come and contribute to them and touch them deeply from a space that said, I see you, I virtually see you, and I hear you, and how I can support that kind of sensation. It's a vibe. So you were able to give us the depth of your soul. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It was like walking into, I don't know, like a Tesla coil. That's what it was like, of walking into a Tesla coil of like genuine energy.
Just as you walked in, I think I was talking about energy, and we were talking about a mantra, or having a mantra for all of us, and being in the right energy. So you just walked right into it, fell right into the vortex, and we whipped you into it.
Give me some notice next time.
No, it was amazing. It was awesome.
Yes.
Everybody responded really well to it, as I knew that they would.
And today you wanted to talk about money. What are we going to talk about money today?
Oh my God. People come to my office and they'd rather talk about their sex life than their money life.
Yeah.
It's the most intimate part of your life. And I stop and I even ask myself, what is my relationship with money? And boom, guess who shows up into my life is the queen of the consciousness of money, Sarah McCrum. And Sarah wrote the book, The Consciousness of Money, which I encourage you to get on Amazon. I'll send you the link. It's amazing. And a friend of mine brought the book to me and says, En-May, I need you to read this. I said, okay. He says, no, I think I better read you the first chapter. And right during Pad Thai, he starts reading, and I am bawling like a child. I said, stop reading. You're messing up my Pad Thai. And he says, no, En-May, this is the chapter that got to me too. And it was questioning, where did we receive our own message about what money is in our value system, in our life? And I recognized that I wasn't ready to even look at that question. It scared me, it frightened me, it excited me, it got me to think, what am I doing with my life direction, with how I spend it, how I use it, how I flagrantly put it out there, and how I hoard it. So it was fascinating. I encourage everybody to think about, what is your consciousness of money? I mean, money has an energy. If you think about it, all we're doing is exchanging with an energy form, which is called money. Exchanging our energy, exchanging our talent, our gifts, our craft, our career. And are you receiving it in a way that celebrates what you do?
How do you find most people receive money?
Desperately. And desperation is not a really loving vibration to carry around. It says, I'm scared, I need more, or there's never enough. So it's a lack mentality, right?
What worries me about that mentality, because I've been there before, is I feel like you reach a point where you feel like you don't deserve it.
Yes.
You don't deserve abundance. You don't deserve, you're just asking for like the bare minimum, right? And you don't feel like any side of like superfluous money, any excess is warranted to you. And that's such a terrible place to be.
Right. Oh my gosh, one of my favorite clients who walked in my door and said, I just want a 50-cent raise. I said, hey, do you mind if we leave out the word just? And also, could we add a few zeros to that, like 50,000? She goes, what am I going to do with 50,000? I said, what are you going to do with 50 cents? You can't buy a sock. And it was that. She didn't understand deserving money or allowing it.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if you just said it or you said it last when you told us that story a little bit ago, but her saying, what would I do with it? Like $50,000? What would you do with 50,000? I could spend $5 million in my mind right this second. But, for her to not have any concept of what to do with that excess.
Well, she was in a very scared place in her life, going through a recent divorce and raising one child, changing jobs, even changing zip codes. So for her, it was a very scary time and how money was going to be used and handled in her life. But for all of us who might be also working and seeing what is our value, or even scared to ask for a raise, or scared to say, I can take on more responsibility, I want a new and wonderful position.
Yeah, I was so excited when you suggested this, because we did our podcast last week was about me when I asked for a raise.
Well, it was 2 weeks ago.
And it wasn't 2 weeks ago. I'm still stuck on it because I'm having conversations about it, because I've had at least 3 admin reach out to me and say, thank you so much for that podcast, because I need to talk about this. And when I started teaching my class 5 years ago, I made a point of bringing up my timeline, what I made when I started, what I'm making now, all the in between, because it is the conversation that nobody wants to have, including myself. So I started forcing myself to have it, and realizing that I think I felt the same way as you did. And I still do, because at the retreat, when you were going through the yuck and unstuck, I mean, I sobbed. I couldn't even control myself. That was the first time I think I broke down at the retreat. And I didn't care, because I'm open and like an open book at that, especially at the retreat. But I think some of the girls were shocked to see me respond that way. But that is truly my relationship with money, which I'm working on changing. But it's a guilt thing. I think for me, it's a guilt thing, and it's a, do I deserve this thing? And I know it's like this constant cycle. And I hear other people going through it in their heads. So I've had like 3 conversations in the last week about people that absolutely deserve to be making more, but just don't want to ask for it.
You can be making thousands of dollars a month, or millions of dollars a month. At any point in your life, you can have your own definition of what is money and what is a level of deserving. Jesse, you brought a very good point regarding the deserving of money. And it all stems from, am I good enough? Am I ready to receive that kind of money from somebody, or for what I do? We take for granted what we offer in our own talent and what we do every day. I am so excited about what I get to do every day. I really start my day with, who do I get to have fun with? And who gets to ask themselves that? I am so grateful that I get to ask myself, who do I get to have fun with today? And that's how I start my day. And people pay me to have fun. Mm-hmm. People are paying me to have a fun, very exciting, very enriching, sometimes very vulnerable time with them. And it's a very intimate space that we share. Through that, everyone does at some point talk about their money life. And changing their story means to elevate your story. It doesn't say, I can't stand my story, or it's from my mother, or this is what we did in my heritage, or my family, my culture. No. Accept and say thank you to those wonderful lessons that you've learned from the past, and look at them as lessons and an opportunity to say, wow, thank you for those lessons. I can release them now because I am so thankful that I get to do what I love to do. Mm-hmm. Go get them, Sparky. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why. I feel like I'm pressed to tell you this story, and then you can tell me if there's an analogy to money in this. I had a revelation recently about our listings inventory, and it's gone up incrementally and steadily over the past few months. We have consistent listings every week. And as I thought about kind of the steps that it took to get momentum and to have a steady inventory, like booked and ready to go, I realized that the biggest impact, I think, other than, my diligence in lead generation, but that's sales stuff, and I've done that my entire life. And really what the aha that I kind of had was my house cleaners. And this doesn't sound like a big deal, but I used to make my clients' experience better, I would have house cleaners, professional house cleaners, clean the house after they moved out. So they wouldn't have to slow down and do that drudgery, right? They could just pack up and go.
Okay.
That was a huge stress reliever for them, but they never saw the finished product. They never got to see the benefit of what I was providing them. They felt it incrementally. They felt it because they didn't have to do the work, but they didn't get to see the benefit of that experience. So what I've been doing, I've had situations where like 5 of my most recent listings all had to be professionally cleaned before we went on the market.
Okay.
And the experience is totally different. Now these people they see the impact of this one caveat to my listing experience, and it has a tremendous impact on them. And these people do such a great job, like an unbelievable job. They clean my house, and when I can't walk into that house, I'm like, this is glorious. Like, I feel light and bright and floating through my own house. There's no crumbs. There's no crumb anxiety anywhere. I don't feel like I'm going to turn a corner and see something on the floor. And I realized that my clients are having this experience. And so when I hear you talk about money, and I'm sitting here analyzing how we make more of it, I'm realizing that sometimes the impact is lost because we're doing it at the wrong time. And by adjusting it and having the impact happen at the beginning, we're getting the tsunami effect afterward, where we're getting a greater impact on our clients. They tell more people about it. They feel euphoric about the experience, and it's changing our business. And then I realized that's really the only thing that's kind of changed in the listing experience. Now, your challenge is to try to find a way to incorporate that into your money mindset. Is there anything to it?
Send a cleaner into your money mindset. I love that. Jesse, I think that just seeing the home again in its pristine state says, I loved this place. And the vibration of the place then receives that I love this place, instead of the feeling like, oh, I got to get out of here. That's two different energies, right? I love this place, and it's been so wonderful to me, and it's been where I raised my family, or I'm ready for a bigger life. Versus, oh, I got to get out of here fast. I don't have any more time. I can't even look back, and I can't even say a prayer. But to let that homeowner have a moment of celebration, to say, I did my best, and to even thank you for even thinking of doing something, that kind of a gesture, says you're caring for my money. You are giving care to my money potential, and the greatest outcome. So I would encourage everybody to send a cleaner into your money value system. Right now, just think about it. Wow. I mean, how do I take care of my wallet? Do I line up my money? Are my credit cards thrown on the bottom of my bag? Are they not in order? Do I pay my bills on time? Think about how we can up-level our respect for our own money, cash, how we divest, invest, and look for new opportunities.
One thing it makes me think about now is figuring this one little piece out. And let's say it costs me $200, $400 to clean someone's house. Okay. I can now think about that as an investment with a much greater return beyond it. And so now my abundance mindset is now, I can't wait to spend $200 or $400 on a listing, because money's going to flow in through the back door, right? Like when this comes around, it's going to come back to me. I'm not even worried about how much it is. I just want to spend that $200 to $400 increment as many times as I can to produce the result.
Well, your client is now walking around saying, oh, you have to see a Jesse home, because they're going to be immaculate. And what better way to look at something that's going to be your own, or your own potentially, than in its most immaculate state. So, Jesse, thank you for helping them see that beautiful vibration with your cleaning dollars. I think that's just gorgeous. So it just doubles. Every time you do that, actually you send out a client who's now walking around saying the most kindest things about their experience of home shopping and about you.
Yeah, so many agents, the topic of money, as Margaret said, is just not talked about in general public. I think real estate agents talk about it in the wrong way, as like a false bravado. I remember meeting this agent one time, and I'll protect his identity, but he introduced himself and then followed it with how much money he made the year before. Wow. And I was like, that's the first time I ran into that, and I was like, it's like if I mean, I'm not going to say it, but if I went up, hey, Jesse Moore, $650,000, whatever the number is, right? Like, what am I saying? The most important thing for you to know about me is how much money I made.
That's strange.
And there's that in real estate, which is like, and it's the false bravado, right?
Yes.
It's the Land Rover lease and clothes with tags still on them and stuff like that.
It's the ego mind shooting off from the wrong opening.
And then where I see it manifest in how realtors market homes is that they're cheap. They don't spend the money on the listing. They're creating, they're trying to save as much as they can for themselves, and so they spend less than they should on flyers. They do a little bit less than maybe is expected. And I think one thing that's really helped us recently is on the listing side, asking what more can we do? Like and then once we figure out a hack, what's the next one? What more can we do for the client?
Yeah,
Interesting.
make their experience a wow experience.
Instead of a fear marketing experience.
Right.
Fear marketing is very interesting, and it causes people to go into panic. And if you think about the housing market with all of the publicity about Seattle's market maybe leveling out finally, or whatever they want to say, it causes fear marketing, and that's not a healthy way to go look at a home.
No. So I was at an event, to give some context to our listeners, with En-May on Monday.
Oh, yeah.
Held by Thatch
Win.
Win. I always want to say Win. And I loved his perspective on the Seattle market. There are deals out there. You just have to be willing to look for them and do the hard work and do the door knocking and do the face-to-face time. And I agree with you. And it made me think, of him when you mentioned that, because he goes in and there's no fear-based thinking. Seattle's a great place to live, a great place to invest.
Yeah.
And the way he explained the Burr method changed my thinking on it for investing. So
Yeah.
I loved it.
Oh, I'm so glad. This is our opportunity, really, when we think about the wonderful industry that you are all in, to give thanks and give an appreciation to what we do have now and what is yet to come, rather than being in the fear of a yeah, but, or what if it doesn't work. If you stay in that fear zone, you're letting instinct rule you again. And instinct is the growling bear, the drunk monkey, what I call my bitchy kitty. And when bitchy kitty gets out, oh, she takes a lot of ice cream to get back in her cage. But truly, when we talk about our money from an intuitive place that says, I am very good at what I do, I am one of the most caring representatives of the home market, I am here with kindness and compassion, then you will only receive that type of client of kindness and compassion, of care, and those who you really want to work with. So it's also your vibration of what you're attracting. Are you attracting lack? Are you attracting scarcity? Are you attracting creepy crawlies? Let's not. Let's go for the most highest vibration of all. Those who are in a space of abundance and understand that abundance is not just abundance of money, but abundance of joy.
Yeah, and joy is free, right? Like, is joy free?
Joy is a combination of about 13 different emotions, which include anticipation, excitement, happy. There's a lot of things going on to manufacture joy in our bodies.
I remember we talked about that when you were here.
Yeah, I love joy. Yeah, I love perpetual joy. And it is free. Boy, that's a good deal, isn't it? Free.
Yeah, but for so many of us, joy is tied to money.
Ooh.
Don't you think that some people...
Or do you think happiness, maybe? The idea of happiness, not exactly joy. You think?
No,
joy?
I mean, I think happiness, when I think of happiness, I think of some degree of contentment, right? And I understand, I don't know. I don't think money, I think contentment's a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's worth having this conversation, but I feel like as far as feeling joy, that kind of weightlessness of joy can happen if you're under stress and you have all these bills to pay, you're not sure how you're going to do it, and then that deal closes and you pay the bills. Like, there's a sense of relief that comes from that, right? And a lot of people have a hard time experiencing joy when their bills aren't paid.
I guess in the recent reading or work that I've been doing, I've heard more and more people talk about how you can't have joy until you've experienced pain, because without pain, you can't really know what joy is, or it's like you say, the combination of emotions.
Well, Margaret, contrast is really important. You really wouldn't know what happiness or joy is if you don't experience the other side of that, which might be lack or fear or pain, whatever that might be. So contrast shows us both sides. I just choose to, and I think it's important to choose joy. Choose joy, choose abundance, choose giggles, choose ice cream, choose being with good people. You get to choose.
Yeah, and I'm learning that more and more as I age, right? That I have the benefit of knowing that I've been through hard times and remembering that in that hard time, I didn't know how I was going to get out of it or if I would survive or if I'd ever have good days again. And then you get to have good days and you hearken back to that moment and I remind myself, hey, next time the circle comes around and you find yourself having these thoughts, remind yourself you always get through, you know.
Right. We can get caught up in our own rumination and ruminating back to, yeah, but it was bad. Yeah, but it could get really creepy. Yeah, but I could be alone. Yeah, crap. You can yeah, but yourself right into a poopy place. And that's ruminating over and over and getting the same results over and over. So it's a quick way to get out of that dark spot is just to say even one or two appreciations. To say, I appreciate I have a friend. I appreciate I have a phone. I appreciate I have a bed. Start small. Start where you can and recognize that, wow, I do have.
So it makes me want to go to, because this is what I've been struggling with, is what do you recommend for someone who wants to start to change their money mindset? Like, do you have a routine or?
Yeah, there's a big routine. And it's also a way to give respect to how you may have been processing your money. I'm not saying that it's all bad.
Wait, I've seen this on Instagram. Aren't you supposed to get like a thick wad of bills and splay it out?
And throw it on yourself?
Sit on the hood of your car and then splay out all the money that you just took out of the bank and then put that on Instagram? Isn't that the secret to happiness?
That sounds more like the cover of a Playboy magazine, 1958. But
this is what's happening today, En-May. I'm not sure if you're aware. I can show you. I can pull up my Instagram account and show you. What was I was looking at. Jessica was showing me something today in the office, and we were having a totally different conversation. And it was advertising a T-shirt, and then I looked down, and this girl, who was very androgynous. I don't know why that's important. I'm just telling you. And that's the conversation we were having, is we couldn't figure out what gender. But she was holding this big, thick pile of cash, and they're trying to sell T-shirts. And I'm like, wait, what are you doing here? And so they're taking this like Instagram fiction, right? That people just walk around with all the money that they have. And they have so much money, they can just carry it around and take pictures as they're modeling for a T-shirt ad. Anyway, I'm seeing that our culture is a little bit rife with a misconception about how people treat money and how we flaunt money. And I do see with Instagram and social media that it's very much in your face, that it's like, look how well I'm doing. Look at my car, look at my clothes, look at my sneakers, look at this thick wad of cash I have in my hand. But you're telling me that's not the secret?
You know, the social media culture in itself is a culture. I come from a culture that's half Japanese, half Chinese, born in Sherman Oaks, California, and married to a German Irish. So you tell me what my culture might be. But we all come from a culture, whether it's from our heredity or even our zip code where we grew up. And there's a belief system about money, even within there. If you look at my particular zip code when I was a kid was Canoga Park, California, and it was the traditional white Anglo-Saxon neighborhood. I was the only Asian kid in a 10-mile zone. And it was, how can we build a white picket fence and stay behind it? So it was very quiet, very silent, and nobody shared what was broken, what was great, what was exciting. So money was a very minimal thing in my life. It was very, very held as a secret. We didn't tell anybody. We didn't share the news of anybody, knowing that we own several restaurants and several cars and several houses. Nobody knew any of this thing. So today I have a different definition. And I think that with social media, we are looking at the stories of plenty. But I don't know if that's real. That does not.
I guarantee you it's not.
Okay, so yeah. So the T-shirt company, I think they prefer cash over credit cards. But what I do see is that is really sending a terribly crooked message about what is unreal and almost not magical, but a viral message that says this is your fake life.
Like Trump's income?
Anyways, there is a lot of process of changing what mentality you might have around your money. But today, let's start with valuing what you appreciate today. If you can say, gosh, I'm so fortunate I get to share lunch with somebody, or I can buy this box lunch for somebody who's in the street, or maybe pay somebody's bills today, or pay your own bills and say, thank you so much for creating this financial windfall for me. It's up to us how we want to appreciate money or not. Money's a creepy subject, and we're stirring up a lot of thought right now. So I invite you into the conversation. I would love to hear your comments. And
I have all sorts of thoughts.
Well,
I have a hard
I
time
guess
with
where
it.
I always get stuck on an issue like this is I do want to help the people that find themselves stuck, right? That find themselves in that place where they're only looking to pay the bills they have. And they're just, that's it, right? They're looking for relief. They're looking for a spot, of light on the horizon instead of asking for more or looking for more. And so, if we were to reach down and talk to that person in this moment, other than being grateful, other than looking for small things to find joy, how can we help them understand or have a new awareness about money?
first be aware of where you are right in this moment, your real moment, not your Instagram moment, but your real moment, where you might be sitting, what car are you driving, what's your zip code, what your job is. If you're looking at your moment of now, and then looking at the intention of creating more, or the intention of allowing myself to have more, then what is the next step? It's that simple. What is the next little tiny step I have to do to have that great large intention? Maybe the next intention is to say, I have a conversation with your boss and say, gosh, I love contributing to this company. I love that I get to do what I love to do, and I want to do more. I'm ready. How can I be of assistance? Somebody who comes to an interview that says that, oh my goodness, that means they're going to play a bigger game. That means that they want to be part of a bigger story and even be mentored to be that bigger story. But somebody who might come to that interview and say, well, how much can I make? Or how much is it possible that I can make this month? You can hear a desperation, and I don't know if they're in it all the way in. I think desperation keeps you hesitating in a place I call hereditary hostage. Shake off the hostage, shake off the culture, shake off the old definition of what you may have had about money and even your value of who you are, your own worthiness, and allow a little bit of light into that worthiness spot, and you will feel 300 times better. It's a feeling.
So it just reminded me of, I have so many different thoughts going through my head right now. One of them is, I was talking about my recent salary increase yesterday with someone, and they mentioned, which I am very aware of, that I'm kind of an example for admin in the area and admin, whoever's listening around the country. And so I carry the weight of that, absolutely. And I would hope that agents and rainmakers and bosses don't use my example as the only example, because they were like, if you don't ask for a raise or you don't make a certain amount and look at everything you're doing, our rainmakers don't think we could even ask for something. And I thought, oh my God, okay, I get it. And I would hope to goodness that they wouldn't think beyond just me as an example. Like, you don't have to be an admin that's organizing retreats. That's, doing what I'm doing necessarily to deserve a fair wage. So I've had that in my head, along with like all the conversations I've already had about my mom and dad's limiting beliefs around money. And I think I'm still working my way out of that. And I'm creating a new definition of what that looks like for me, because I want a huge, massive life. If I'm really real, I want a massive life.
Love it.
And it doesn't mean money. Money is a part of it, because the more money I have, the more I'll be able to do with it. And so,
I want to say this though, to everyone listening that follows Mopra here, Mo, that's who I'm talking about. When you first came on the team, you thought you would never make more than $50,000 a year.
mm-hmm.
Like that was something
that was
you
what
said
I had in
to
my
us.
head. Yeah.
Right. So when you made more than that amount, like it was an event,
Mm-hmm.
you responded emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
like it was a big deal, and that happened within a year, wasn't it? Or
I think it was within 2 years.
2 years?
Cause I tell them like the plan that you had set from the very beginning was to get me to 48 within a year and a half. And then right after that was 50. Yeah.
Right. And so your mindset's changed, evolved. Like you didn't show up this way.
No.
Is
no,
my point.
God, no.
In fact,
Yeah.
you showed up saying, I don't know if I'll ever make more than this amount.
Mm-hmm.
And to help people understand why she thought that way, she had a master's in social work.
Mm-hmm.
Like your mindset about money, your mindset wasn't, I'm going to go out there and slay dragons and make it rain silver dollars on me.
Yeah.
You're like, I want to help people. And if it means that probably means I'm going to be poor. Right?
Yes. Or the highest paying job you can get as a social worker at the time was for the state.
Right. So your mindset absolutely evolved,
Yeah.
number one. The other thing I'll say in regards to what you just said about other people and them wanting to emulate you or thinking that they have to emulate you is it's just like a job description.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's jobs and all the duties are
They're all
different,
different. Yeah.
based on the need of the company,
Yeah.
based on the need of the rainmaker, based on their talents and
Mm-hmm.
abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Your talents and abilities are honed a certain way, and you have the freedom to move in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be true. If everybody listens, and if anyone wants to be like you, that's what I would have them focus on,
Mm-hmm.
is
Their talents and
their
abilities.
talents
Yeah.
and their abilities, and then making sure that they have autonomy
Mm-hmm.
to focus that laser.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would hope to goodness that their leaders would know well enough to not measure. You can't measure one person next to another like that. Like,
Well, and you make me think of somebody who was at the retreat who helps run her rainmaker's like 5 businesses, right?
yeah.
Like you're not doing that for me.
No.
You do different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She does different
Yeah.
stuff.
It's all different.
And the reality is En-May, we've been having this conversation, and the reason we've been having the conversation is because, when I went to the retreat and I spoke to those ladies, the one thing I really wanted to impress upon them is you have a choice.
Yeah.
You have a choice to show up and be confident, or you have a choice to be insecure, right? So
Yes.
choose to be confident.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a choice to show up as if you have worth, or you have a choice not to. So show up as if you have worth.
Mm-hmm.
And in this conversation around money, I understand it's a minefield to some degree, but only because you make it so,
Mm-hmm.
right? Only because, like you said, what was it about fear? Mindset of fear. It was fear. I forget what the word you used before fear.
Well, fear marketing.
Fear marketing.
marketing,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's fear marketing, right? Where they are so afraid to do this thing
Yeah.
because
Yes.
of the unknown.
Yes.
And the reality is Margaret did a very good job of approaching me about a raise, and we talked about that. The person that I'm talking about who helped the Rainmaker run 5 businesses had a conversation with the Rainmaker. It went really well.
Yeah.
And so I'll just say from a Rainmaker's perspective, we're thinking about a lot of things, and keeping talent is one of those things, but it's not always at the top of our list.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay for you to move that up the list every once in a while.
Yeah,
and
that's
to push it
exactly
up.
what Tyler Schmidt talked about at the retreat too. Is sometimes we have to be the ones to remind you or come to you or ask, and because you do have a lot of different things on your plate. So that it does make sense. I agree. I was thinking of one other thing that I thought of while you were talking. The other thing I guess that I like to keep a big perspective on always is someday I'm going to die. We're all dying, right? And I don't care if somebody knows how much money I made. That's kind of the decision I made when I started teaching that class was, what am I losing by telling people what I make? I'm proud to work with Pickett Street. I'm proud that you hired me. And if it helps someone else adjust where they're at financially and make a decision that either they go to their boss and their boss says, no, I won't take your wage above $36,000. Well, in Seattle, that's not going to work. So maybe it helps them move on. That's what I go back to. And I said that in the investor workshop 2 weeks ago with Jennifer Beatles. I said to that group of investors, hey, I'm going to die someday. And some of them smiled. They were like, it's true. I mean, we're all going to, so why not? Let's talk about it. How do you want to make this much money? Cool. This is how much money I want to make. How can we help each other get there? How can we help each other think bigger and beyond someone who is thinks that they're okay at $19 an hour in the Seattle area, because that's not okay. So that's why it ultimately gave me the push, was like just thinking bigger about it, thinking beyond just myself, thinking money is just another thing in this world. It's not the everything. And it shouldn't be a topic that we don't talk about.
Like I started with money as being an energy rather than a thing, or rather than the exchange product. It's how we labeled it. It's really how you want to relabel it now. Just having this conversation and opening the door to talking about something very intimate about our lives, money, and saying hello to your money. I would encourage everybody to splay out your money on the table and your credit cards and have a nice conversation with money. And I can tell you that my money started talking to me, and it said, hey, we want more. We're really good with that. I would like to help you make more. What would you like us to do? My money had a conversation with me, telling me what it wanted. And that was pretty exciting to hear them say, it's okay to have more.
Well, there's an idea that's perpetuated in the Bible as well. The parable of talents, where Jesus told a parable about a man who gave 3 people an amount of money, and he gave them a week, and they had to come back to him. And one guy buried the money to, because he needed safekeeping, right? And he didn't want to lose any. And the other guy made a small bet, but not a good one. And then the one guy invested it and doubled his income, doubled his return, right? And what was celebrated was that doubling, that harvest, that return. And so I am only bringing that up to say for anyone that this idea is not an energetic idea. It's not unique, right? That in every nuance it shows up, including Christianity. That the idea is that we are to be good stewards, and we are we're to put our money to use. Mm-hmm. We're not just supposed to hoard it and keep it from the masses.
Right. This is your invitation in this conversation to give your money a little thought, and give it a bigger thought, and a bigger thought, and a bigger thought. Because if it's just sitting in your wallet and not doing anything, and the message of scarcity might be looming somewhere in the background of the clouds of your subconscious, I would invite you to just have a beautiful conversation of your own self-worth, and think about how your talents, your God-given, your Buddha-given, your world-given talents are allowing you to be an ingredient in our world. What are you doing to contribute? How are you doing it to contribute? Are you loving it? Are you loving how your contribution is happening? If you need to change your job, or make a decision, or make more money, or maybe leave a lot of money. A lot of people I know are scared to leave a lifestyle, and they stay in marriages or companies or wherever they are. They feel stuck. Please have an honest conversation with your money. Your soul will be so happy that you did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing makes me sadder than someone who stays in a bad situation because they can't afford to leave.
Or they think they can't afford.
Exactly. They don't make a plan to be able to afford to leave. You know what I mean? And I think that's going to happen. We're going to have that conversation more and more as affordability becomes more and more out of reach.
Yes.
I mean, we see that. I'm consumed with thoughts of Seattle and our homeless situation. And I'm exhausted. I just can't believe it. I can't believe that in this day and age that we're okay with members of our community living this way. You know, it's like, I don't know. When I think about money and I think about the good it can do, I just feel like we're not doing enough. And that's one of the things that Gary Keller says that I always loved about him is money is good for the good it can do. And that's why he wanted to make a lot of money, you know, our ability to help others grows with the more money we make.
Guilt doesn't help you, though. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, is it guilt or is it empathy? I mean, if you see people living a lifestyle that's not, you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I encourage everyone to do what they can at where they are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just to buy a bag of groceries for somebody or to volunteer, whatever that is, it's very important to understand that more comes to you when you give more, whether it's from your heart, your wallet, your soul, wherever you can, and do this in a way that is gentle on yourself as well.
Yeah, I think that's the important message is that what you focus on expands. And if you focus on having nothing, you inherit nothing. You manifest nothing upon you, right? And if you focus on abundance, then you have abundance.
I think so. That's so one of the things I was curious about asking you was because people have asked me what's my morning routine, and I read the Miracle Morning, so I've done incorporated meditation, which is really changing me. I don't even know what's happening with me, but it's changing me, I know. And one of the things I did is I put my vision board right in front of me in my little meditation corner, and I wrote a check to myself for $50,000 because that was how much more I wanted to make. So it's funny that you said that $50,000 amount today, but that's how much more I wanted to make on top of my salary from last year. And so I've been focusing on that. After I meditate, I look at it, I visualize it, I think about it, and then I'm slowly adding up all the little pieces that are getting me there. And I'm saying money affirmations, and like I don't even know if it's going to work, but those are the things that I've found to incorporate. And I was wondering if there's anything else like that you would recommend.
Well, for me, it has to be fun. I'm not going to do it if it's not fun.
Yeah.
And that's usually how I start my morning is who do I get to have fun with? So we've come back full circle now. And if I express to you how my morning starts, a lot of it starts with who do I get to have fun with? And if I'm having fun, I feel excited, I feel giddy, I feel contributive, I feel elated, I feel laughter, I feel giggles, I feel a hamburger occasionally, I feel I'm doing what I love to do and what my soul was meant to do. And then the financial abundance just comes automatically, almost to a point where I'm shocked how much there is. It's kind of fun to pay my taxes on time and have plenty left over. So the point here is everyone where you're starting right now, share a moment of gratitude in what you have from the past, a moment of appreciation from what is now and what is yet to come. In these time zones, you are elevating yourself and your right to choose and your own personal definition of worthy. And that's where we begin.
What else do we want to ask En-May in these waning moments? Any energy from this room, En-May?
Well, this particular company is looking to hire some new agents and have some great people come in on board. And we were talking about the interview process, which is fascinating. And for me, I can actually judge a person by the vibration immediately. And it comes off to me like color, like a rainbow. It also feels a heat or coldness. I also feel a presence that makes me feel safe, makes me feel excited or exhilarated. I think that you can go through the data, you can go through the calculations, everything that says what the DISC system tells you what you're getting for personality. Bottom line comes down to your vibration and that person's vibration. Are you in it to win it? I was recently brought into a company in Orange County, and the gentleman asked me, we were trying to find new people to join his real estate company. And I sat in. And in sitting in, I just asked the gentleman, would you like to make $1 million before the end of the year? And I asked it very kindly and genuinely. I didn't ask it like I was being sarcastic. And he sat up and he scooched up in his chair and he said, "Say that again?" I said, "How would you like to make $1 million before the end of the year?" And I think it was February, maybe March. And he goes, "I'm in, I'm in, I'm in." And it got louder, and his vibration was even higher, and his eyes popped open, and he says, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." And then I let the gentleman take over the rest of the interview. Most of it was just in that first 30 seconds. We recognized that this man had the energy and the vibration that matched with the vibration of the company, the mantra of the company, the mission of the company. And I think that's what it's all about. You got to feel the vibe of abundance. You got to feel the vibe of confidence. That's what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think it's important. We do interview a lot of people, and they interview with other teams in the office. And something we try really hard to protect is our vibe. And
Always.
And people gravitate to the Pickett Street corner pretty readily. And I think it's something we're very conscientious about. And I think it's something we are concertedly protecting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the vibe here is about abundance, about sharing it, and not just on an ego-driven me. If you're thinking of the me concept, that actually doesn't work in any company, in any environment, or with any other human. That's like the gentleman who you said introduced himself with how much he made right after his first name. That says, "I'm scared to death that you're going to be making more, and this is where I need to be so I can feel confident." That's really what he said. That's sad. That's really sad. He has no friends. But he's making all the money he wants to make. That's a lonely place.
Yeah, and again, what we focus on expands. But in that context, I feel like, and this is common in the real estate industry, that we white knuckle our real estate commissions because we don't know when we're going to get the next one, right? So we have a hard time letting go of any amount, even if it's an investment or in ourselves or in our business. And I hear scarcity when someone introduces their salary right after their name, right?
Yeah.
To me, that's somebody who has a scarcity mindset versus somebody who has lots of wealth and is more interested in getting to know you as a person or getting to know you at all.
I would rather hire the person with lots of wealth, of compassion, of kindness, of caring, of wanting to share, of wanting to learn, who's coachable. That's what I'd be looking for. If you tell me you're making this kind of revenue and this kind of performance, that's super duper. I love that. Now tell me how you connect. Tell me what is your connection piece to attracting the right type of clients and the type of clients you're going to bring through this company. And if they don't match with my vibration, I don't care how much that person is making. It just doesn't feel like it will be a good and long-term fit.
Margaret and I yesterday had lunch with someone I admire a great deal. He's extremely wealthy. He could have been retired a long time ago, decades ago. And he still is a CEO of many companies. He's on the board of many other companies. He goes around the country and teaches. He tells us he did so because his wife told him to get out of the house and figure out what to do. And what I love about him, like he and I may not agree on many things. We're very different. The age gap is enough that we wouldn't have a lot to talk about. We found things to talk about. But the thing that I really identified with him is here I am talking to somebody who's achieved almost everything he ever wanted to achieve in life, far beyond his station where he was born and everything else. And at one point he just says, the older I get, the more I realize I don't know, right? And I look at this person who seems to have everything and have accomplished so much. And I see so much wisdom in that sentiment. which is wealth doesn't, it doesn't bring knowledge or wisdom or all these other things, that it's separate. And having a lot of money, the more I think about it, the more humble I want to be, and the more I want to go after what motivates me in life, and knowing that money will follow, and knowing that more and more, I think there was a time in my life where money absolutely defined me. Despite me trying to be humble, despite me trying to do everything, I just never had it before. So when I had it, it absolutely became a little teepee that I kind of like closed myself into. And talking to somebody, having that conversation with him yesterday, just kind of, that's what I want to emulate. I want to make it and still be pursuing my passions and still be humble and wise, and talking to younger proteges about how to handle money.
Well, our responsibility is to lift up the next generation. I believe that all of us, it's interesting, we're all in different decades of our lives here, sitting at this table. And I believe that I'm the elder here, I believe that it's my turn now to show up for the youth, to receive some clues on what not to do, by saying, oh gosh, I love it when. Instead of going to that negative place of I don't want, or I don't need, or I can't stand this, I'd rather focus on I love it when. I love it when I feel I can contribute. I love it when I'm successful. I love it when I have confidence. I love it when I feel worthy. I love it when I can help somebody else lift up, even just a little bit. I love it when I can share with my friends. I love a great laugh. I love a good night's sleep. I love my puppies. I love being with great, like-minded people who want to elevate as well. So in that is worth a lot to me, and I hope to anybody I might speak to. This is an opportunity to change your old story, no matter where you are, and love it when you get to be your authentic you.
That's a good place to end.
Yeah.
Thank you, En-May. Thanks for joining us once again.
Always a joy.
We'll have you back another time.
I'll be here.
All right.
Real talk.
Margaret Macaulay Smith.
We're back.
We're back. What'd you think?
My mind is swirling. It was like, it's definitely a big topic to talk about. There's so many different things about it.
I didn't help. I just said random stuff.
Well, you had so we had our coaching session with her as a team prior to this podcast. And so I'm also thinking about that as we're in here speaking with her. And okay, this is something I'm thinking about, but I didn't say it because she had to run. She had to go do something. I feel like I'm sure 20 years down the road, I'm going to look back at little Margaret and think, oh, said things you didn't know. What I wanted from her is I wanted a strategy. I wanted tell me what I need to do in the morning to manifest this money that I want. And she didn't give it to me. She talked about how to speak though, and say and change your language, which probably ultimately is just what it's all about, is manifest. I love it when I have enough money to pay off my credit cards. I love it when I have enough money to travel outside the country. That's what she talked about. But I was pushing her for
we were looking for the clickbait title.
Yes.
8 things you can do to change your mindset about money.
3 things you can do to
Not
just...
3, 8. Okay. There has to be a weird number. 13 things.
But 13 things would be appropriate.
And
so I have to admit, that's what I wanted. And I think I asked it twice. And no.
I asked it once at least.
Yeah.
What do you tell that person?
Maybe that means there's not a direct answer. Maybe that means it really is all about your mind and how you exchange. Because remember when we first had our meeting with her, this was not on the podcast, but I asked her to read my aura, and people can say what they want about what they believe in auras. I don't know a lot about them, but she said about my fingers, I had a lot of pink, which is about love. And with also money was flowing out of my fingers, and I'm not keeping my money. I give it away. And I know that's true. I know. And I can't I'm trying to figure out what's the right amount to give and keep. And when do I...
Well, apparently you're investing into leather jackets.
This is a fake leather jacket. How many people?
How many of these things do you own?
This is the same one I wore yesterday. I do too.
It's a different color.
No, it's the same. Actually, that's funny. I own 2 fake leather jackets.
Yes. So you're going heavy on leather.
I have found that people like me in leather, and hey, I'm dating or looking to date, and so I find
can I please tell this story?
Yes, go for it, because it was funny.
We went to.
I didn't even plan it.
We had a short window for lunch today,
like 50 minutes,
and it was
ridiculous.
Me and our buyer's agent Jessica and Margaret, and Jessica and Margaret were sitting next to each other, so they talked about hair and nails.
Were you
and
missing out?
all sorts of things. And then our server, who we love,
her.
came
She's
up
darling.
to us, and she's like, "What's new, guys?" And Margaret goes, "I'm dating. I'm dating." And I look at her like, "What? You're going to tell us server information I don't have?" And she's like, "Well, I'm not dating someone." I'm just putting myself out there. So I thought that was pretty hilarious.
That was so funny.
So anyway, why did you bring up lunch?
I don't know how we got to lunch. Oh no, leather jackets we're talking about. So yes,
right.
people like me in leather. So I'm like, okay, this is a thing. I like myself in leather. So I'm just wearing it more often. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you're investing heavy into leather and other things
Yes.
when you should be keeping your money, is what you're saying.
Well, no, I'm just saying like what I'm trying to gather and educate myself on is I feel like I have a much better handle on money coming in, money going out. I'm trying to change my mindset on it. I'm wondering just what else I'm not doing that I should be doing in order to change my mindset. And so that's what I was hoping literally was that En-May would have like 5 steps to success or the 13 steps to get your money mindset right.
Mm-hmm.
And she I know her well enough to know she would have said them if she had them. So
Well, she did ask everyone to get a copy of the book, The Consciousness of Money.
The Consciousness of Money. Yes.
And so that's one thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
I got, I kind of know my answer to some degree, and I spoke to it a little bit. But, it's just the daily activities, the daily things you do to push the ball forward.
Yeah.
For me, that's what I have to focus on when I get into a scarcity mindset and I have bills looming or a lack of production, and I just have to focus on the daily activities, like what I have to do every day to show up and to push the business forward. And eventually that creates momentum and money follows. And it's not that sexy to talk about, but that's what happens.
Yeah. Oh, yawn. No, I don't know.
You don't accept my reality?
Well, it's different for a sales agent than for someone on the salary, right? Like, it's not like I can come in and lead gen necessarily and, change things. Like, I have recently with my raise, obviously more money coming in. There's got to be something else. There's something else that's not clicking yet with me.
All right.
Or my mind's not right on,
I'll
mind's
put it
still
this
not
way.
set on money.
I'll put it this way. There used to be someone on our team who created a disturbance about money. In regards to salespeople and in regards to employees. And this was a topic of conversation more than once, many times. And we talked about how sales agents have a little bit more autonomy in the amount of money they make, whereas employees have the benefit of a guaranteed paycheck, right? And salespeople don't have that. And that person's mindset about it, what she didn't understand, like she's selling you short because you have, with your drive and your talents and your tenacity, you can create businesses that are far exceed what she can make selling houses. And I wish that she was here to see it. You know what I mean? Like, there are people that are jealous of you because of the things that you are creating for that very reason, right? Like, and you're doing it. And so that's the message I would say is, there's absolutely a million ways to skin this cat. If you want to make money and you want to pay your bills, there's different ways to do it. And in this day and age, man, you can make money doing literally nothing. So like, the opportunities are there for you. You just have to create it, a pathway to that. And I think obsessing on, it's so funny. The human condition to me is so interesting that we do obsess about the negative.
We do.
That we do worry about what could happen.
Yeah.
You know, I have this, you know, there's this bird outside our window that makes a nest every year and lays eggs. And those eggs never make it to fruition. Yeah. And yet that bird still lives. Thank God I'm not that bird, right? No. We don't know the sense of loss that nature experiences. We're so insulated from nature. We don't really appreciate how blessed we are.
No, we don't experience loss as much as they do. Yeah. I'm curious about, you mentioned in our talk with En-May how you felt kind of overwhelmed when you experienced wealth that you hadn't had before. Do you feel like you're in a different place now? Like, how has your mind changed around that?
You know, it's interesting. My story with money starts when I'm very young. My parents told me they wouldn't be able to help with college, and that if I want to go to college, I'd have to pay for it myself. So I started saving like when I was 7. And by the time I graduated high school, I had more money than my parents. And I didn't sell, like I didn't inherit it. Yeah. It was just hard work. I just saved my money. I didn't spend it. And I put myself through college without getting any student loans or any help from my family. I got scholarships and I worked and I paid it off. So I feel like I've always had a healthy relationship with money, but I grew up living essentially paycheck to paycheck. And, you know, getting shoes was a matter of if it was in the budget, and you might have to wait a few months. So when I got to a place where I didn't have to worry about money, like I had more money coming in than I had going out, and it was a surplus and it was building. I still had a mindset that it could go away and that I needed to have a reserve account and I had to have all these protections in place. And I did almost all of those things. And I kind of had I think if you grow up the son of a farmer or rancher, you kind of grow up with the idea that disaster could happen at any time. Yeah, like if you're a farmer in Montana and there's a hailstorm, you may not get a paycheck that year, right? But that you have insurance for that, and you have federal subsidies that help you out. As a rancher, same thing. Cow market can crash. You live your whole year for one paycheck, and the market could tank right before you get to the auction, and then, you know, it's disaster. And so I think I have it in my mind that disaster can happen at any time. Yeah. And that makes my relationship with money a little bipolar because I like making it. I like abundance. I like to have a big life like you talk about. And I also like having money in the bank and being protected and knowing I can navigate disaster. And to be fair, I've had disaster in the past few years. And thank goodness I had reserves. Yeah.
No, I definitely identify with that kind of bipolar feeling. I don't think it's the same. Like yours is very reasonable. I feel like mine is like ridiculous spending responsibility. Like I'm going to be so good with my money this week. And then the next day I'm like, God, I deserve a coffee. Go get a coffee. I mean, it's not like I'm making huge purchases.
You're not. Other than leather or fake leather.
And at the same time, I'm like, I always try to keep in my mind, like I said with you guys on the podcast earlier, I could die at any moment. And I certainly don't want to spend my life living like how I've watched some people live around me when I was growing up, because we were paycheck to paycheck, but my parents we were happy, super happy. But I watched some families where their parents spent no money. And by no money, I mean they were so frugal, no vacations, no time away, no dinners out, no nothing, no fun. Not that you have to spend money to have fun, but no experiences. And I refuse to do that to myself.
My grandparents lived through the Great Depression. And if you have anyone that lived through the Great Depression, they all they all can and do preserves. Yeah, totally. And you know, they do a million things. They because they had to get by on almost nothing. Yeah. Very different. And I understand that mindset. And as they age, it's been different times. I mean, they went through a once in a 4 or 5 more generation kind of event.
It was
Great
massive.
Depression was very unique and severe. And then you go through different phases in life, and you see people that rocketed up on Wall Street in the 80s and 90s, and now, they're living paycheck to paycheck in their own way. And you hear the stories about NFL players who make gobs of money and how they're homeless or can't afford to pay hospital bills later in life. Man, everything's a cycle. And I've mentioned this before on the podcast. If you're, what goes up must come down. And if you're flying high, great, enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. Realize that there's something probably around the corner at some point. And humble yourself and be grateful. Like, take time to plan and enjoy the moment. And plan and set money aside so that you don't have to worry so much. Have a plan. There's lots of things, but, I think the worry in and of itself is just so harmful.
It is.
And it does no good.
It does nothing. Yeah.
Maybe it inspires you to action. That's my only
If
hope.
somebody takes action, then I can understand it. But I don't feel like worry. I'm a big action person, and when I'm in a worry mode, I really don't allow myself to live there for long because I don't take action. I get analysis paralysis, and I will it can take me down. So I don't allow that anymore because I've realized my family, we have a history of worry and anxiety.
Yeah.
And if I let myself go down that hole, that's where I'll live, and I won't do anything. I won't open up my bank account if I'm worried about it. That's avoidance to the max.
I understand that mentality, but I check my bank account every morning. And it's part of it's knowing. Part of it's payroll.
Well, yeah.
Like, I have to
When
pay
you're running a
attention
business,
to payroll, and so I need to know if I need to move money or whatever the case may be. And so I just like to know where my money's at. Yeah, it's a complicated topic, and what I just don't want people to do, and because I've been there, is just to obsess and really kind of let it change every aspect of you, because stress kills us.
It does. Stress is absolutely a killer. Yeah. When I had dinner last night with these 2 investors, and I said, you guys are doing the one thing that so many people don't do, which is ask questions and get information. So whenever anybody feels paralyzed or they feel like they don't know what to do next, the worst thing you can do is not look at your bank account, right? And just turn away from it, or don't research it. Don't look into it. You have to stare it right in the face and go, okay, I'm logging in right now. Or for them, it was taking me out to dinner and asking me as many questions as they could around my FHA loan. So yeah, it's just being willing to look at it and start thinking about options in the plan and developing some sort of a plan. So you feel, because a plan makes you feel like you at least have a way to navigate through it rather than just sitting in the unknown, which doesn't help anything. Yeah, this was good with En-May today. I'm really excited to have her be a part of the podcast again.
Well, En-May, I just want to say you're a good sport for letting me spin the wheel of Jesse and say random things to you and see if you could find a way to make it make sense.
Yeah.
I've just had a lot of things on my mind, everybody, okay?
I was glad you did that.
I haven't had a lot of time to think about things or process things. We've been in full bore real estate mode. Slanging properties right and left. More to slang next week, the week after that.
Yep.
All right. Margaret's going to leave a link to the book that En-May mentioned somewhere.
I will, in the show notes.
You'll find it in the show notes. And we'll be back next time. Next week. Same bat time, same bat place.
Oh, I love that show.
For Finally Clicked.
Thanks, guys.